Today, I'm going to explain my concept for this layout and my track plan. I hope you stay tuned. Hi, I'm really glad you could join me today. My layout will feature 4 prototype railroads that are kind of shoehorned into a small geographic area, and there's really no interchange between them. And actually, there's no area known as the Schuylkill River Valley. The river is real. Most of it does flow through valleys, and there are a few places that could lay claim to the name, but I've never heard it used outside of my layout. So I thought a brief introduction of the area, the railroads, and my layout was in order. Let's get started by putting the valley on the map. As you can see, we are in southeastern Pennsylvania, about 14 or 15 miles northwest of Center City, Philadelphia. The name is pronounced Schuylkill, or to the locals, it's simply the Schuylkill. There are 2 explanations for the name. First, it's a combination of 2 Dutch words, meaning skulking or hidden creek. The other explanation is that the name properly translates to Hideout Creek in an Algonquin language spoken by the Lenni Lenape Indians. The name refers to the lush and often steep riverbanks, as you can see here. This photo is taken from 1992. Even getting close to Philadelphia, you can see the lush riverbanks which exist even today. The river flows about 135 miles from the anthracite coal region of Pennsylvania, southeast until it joins the Delaware River at Philadelphia. Before the railroads took over, millions of tons of anthracite coal traveled the Schuylkill River, supplying some of the biggest iron and steel industries in America. The area I'm modeling centers around Bridgeport, Pennsylvania. Like most Bridgeports, it was named for the building of a bridge and a major port. The bridge is still there, but the port is long gone, being supplanted by the railroads many years ago. For many years, Bridgeport was home to a number of industries served by the railroads. Sweetland was the home of the Allenwood Steel Company's blast furnace, with the steel plant being across the Schuylkill in Conshohocken, and the Rainy Wood Coke Company. Matsunk is the original name for Sweetland. Since on my layout I've moved the coke ovens across the river, I dusted off the name Matsunk. Norristown is the county seat for Montgomery County. It is only represented on my layout by the terminal of the Philadelphia and Western's Norristown high-speed line. 3 more stops along the Norristown line are King Manor, Golf Mills, and the terminal at 69th Street in Upper Darby. The Pennsylvania Railroad's Trenton Cutoff straddles the land between Bridgeport and Sweetland. It was designed so trains en route to northern New Jersey and New York could bypass the heavy rail traffic of Philadelphia. At one time it was electrified, but the overhead wires had been removed by the time period of my layout. At least by the time of my layout, the Trenton Cutoff was used for freight only, although here in the valley you may see an occasional passenger train on the line. The Reading lines had main lines running through the area, providing both passenger and freight service. In the steam era, there was an engine facility at Bridgeport with a turntable and roundhouse. I don't remember the turntable, but the roundhouse still existed when I was a kid. Many of the railroad buildings are still in use today, although they have been repurposed. The Philadelphia and Western was a third rail electrified interurban commuter line. The Norristown high-speed line ran from Upper Darby to Norristown. The line was built to very high standards with generous turn radii and no grade crossings, specifically to provide reliable high-speed transportation to the northwestern Philadelphia suburbs. The line is still in use today, being operated by SEPTA. The Upper Merion Plymouth was a short-line industrial railroad owned by the Allenwood Steel Company. It served the steel company as well as the Rainy Wood Coke Company. The Coke Company was a major producer of coke in the area and supplied not only Allenwood steel, but shipped coke via rail to outside customers as well. As kids, we spent many hours on the ump's tracks and the coal hoppers they frequently stored there, often ending by getting chased by those engineers. The Schuylkill River Valley Historical Railroad is purely fictional. Like most modelers, I'm focused on the railroad equipment from my youth. That notwithstanding, there's a certain romantic attraction to steam power. Since my layout is set well after diesels push steam aside, I created the Schuylkill River Valley Historical Society, which restores steam-era equipment and runs occasional railfan excursion trains through the valley. They've negotiated trackage rights along the Pennsylvania and Reading lines. Here's an overview of the prototype's track plans through the modeled area. The Reading lines on the north side of the Schuylkill were electrified and were used for both passenger and freight service. By the time of my layout, the Reading used the tracks on the south side of the river for freight service only. Since I have not modeled the Northtown side, you'll see some Reading Bud cars running through Bridgeport. Besides serving the blast furnace and the coke ovens, the ump has an interchange with the Pennsy here in King Manor and with the Reading in Sweetland. And here's what I have to work with. The room is approximately 9 by 11 feet, far smaller than I would want, and about a quarter the size of my last layout. I do have plans for the closet, which will allow some expansion. It's an around-the-room design with a minimum ground level at about 47 inches off the floor. There will be a bridge spanning the entryway to the layout, although I'm still debating a duck under versus a swing out. Pennsy tracks include an off-layout staging yard. This will allow for the through trains that were seen on the Trenton Cutoff. For now, the Reading runs on a closed loop. It's certainly not ideal, but I do have a couple of ideas for staging. But that remains to be seen. The P&W is a simple out and back line, as was the real thing. There's little in the way of switching possibilities, but that's by design. I'm not big on operations. My main focus on this layout is to run trains and watch them run. I'd also like to get some interesting photo and video shots, so scenery will be important to me. Thanks so much for watching. I'm glad you could be here today. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it helps to set the stage for my layout. I hope to see you next time when we'll head across the hall and I'll bring you up to date on my layout progress so far. Till then.